This is something that I don't wish to see ever again in my lifetime. I really hope that we don't get any disaster like this ever again during my lifetime. Telling the story is one thing, but you just really want to help them. Like, you feel as though you just give them everything that you have. I gave them what I had at the time. All around you are just seeing just pure destruction and devastation. And then the part about it that hurt now is that the people, when you see people basically looting, some of them looting to survive, some of them looting out of greed. And I can tell you that is when I cried. Being a survivor of an accident where I was the only person in my family to be able to live to tell the tale. Lost my mom, my father, and my sister. And the other person, another vehicle who caused the crash, he also died. I don't think my tragedy can be compared to those out west. I really don't think that. I didn't necessarily I put much thought into what I would see, because you have to just go with an open mind. You go to report what is there. So from the morning when I went out and we're going down Spur Tree, you had the typical down trees, and I said to myself, I didn't see some of the utility poles down like what I saw with Beryl. So I said, okay, I'm hoping that this isn't as bad. And as you progress further west, you went into places like Santa Cruz. It was just mud covered the roads in Santa Cruz, right? It was like a mess. And I was still saying, all right, hoping for the best. As you keep going further, going to places like Lacovia, you start noticing now damage to the houses, roofs ripped off, and then you can see now the poles that I'm telling you about, the poles down. Because typically when you really want to see how bad it is, one of the first indications are the poles, those concrete utility poles. When you see those up and on the ground, you know that, hey, this is serious. And by the time I got into places like Lacovia, Holland, Bamboo, New Holland, you're starting to see entire hillside, houses, everything there just bare. The trees bare, just completely stripped off. And into an area now like Black River, Luana going to Black River, it's as if you dropped a bomb in Black River. That's how everything looked. And remember now, it's the sea that caused that damage. I recall hearing the firefighters, the police, even members of the military talking about their experience. The fire truck at the Black River fire station was covered with water. The Bushmaster that was also on property there was covered. So all around you are just seeing those pure destruction and devastation. And then the part about it that hurt now is that the people, when you see people basically looting, some of them looting to survive, some of them looting out of greed. But it was just painful to see. You're really wondering, is this Jamaica? But yes, it was a reality on the ground. So I spoke about Black River, and yes, it's bad, but I will say when you really look at the homes, the houses, it's the entire West. And when I went to Westmoreland, I can remember going to Belmont Academy, and when I got there, jumped out of the observer vehicle, there was a blind man. He was being led by a friend, and I introduced myself to him. And he said, oh, yes, boss, I feel good, can we get some food? He was talking about this bag, basically those long poly bags that the JDF brought to Belmont Academy. So he was saying to me that, Chief, everything mash up, everything mash up. And it's like, we're hungry, And even yesterday, a 2 hot dog we get, out of White House, and we have to share it up, 2 hot dog, And I said, 2 hot dogs? 2 hot dogs? And the way he was saying about it, I know that he was talking about his family. And when the gentleman said to me that, Chief, but we know hope are coming. We know hope is coming. He was referring to being at a neighbor's house because his house was gone and hearing what he said, boop, boop, boop. We know the helicopter come, the helicopter, the JF helicopter. That's how he was led from that house to the Belmont Academy where the JDF was using a field there to land helicopters. And I can tell you that is when I cried. I cried because I was saying, you see these two helicopters landing in a sequence, one first and then the other, and they're apart like this. And then you see when the soldiers come out with those bags, in there you have food and probably tissue, and they put it on the grass to form a circle, and you have scores of people. They have to be just around to the side of the buildings, and they have to just wait. They can't touch nothing, and they have to be there waiting. And then soldiers were calling their names afterwards, so they couldn't just go and take up anything, because they were doing order. And I was just there feeling so bad because I'm saying, look at what this storm has brought us to. Look at what it has brought our people to. Persons were happy by you just giving them a bottle of water, right? So it really made me feel bad because I'm saying, I'm coming from just a little further east, and what is there to complain about when you come here and people, they literally have no roof? Then there are those who, it's not just a roof, they don't have a house, right? Everything is gone. And I'm like, this is just crazy. Is this really Jamaica? That's all that's coming out of my mind. All in my mind, is this really Jamaica? Places that you would normally see, even when you go to a place like Border at that time. This was the Sunday after the storm. I remember seeing this lady called Miss Ivy, and I tell her about resilience. She was there frying fish. She was one of the few people, the vendors, who said that, look, the house is gone, the roof is gone, but they are out there trying to make a living. And from that small fire, they started to show hope just a few days after. And at this point in time, Border is building back. Not as strong as before, but it is building back. And I can tell you that people are fighting back in the West. They just need the help, but they are fighting back. And more than anything right now, electricity. Electricity is something that a lot of people out West just wish they had that, because that can give them an acceleration to do something more, to be able to can function a little better. But I can tell you that it's just a terrible sight. Whatever you saw online is nothing compared to what you see in person. Nothing. Nothing can prepare you for it. And if you go there and you don't cry, I don't think you're human. I don't think you're human. Well, I'll say it has made me stronger and learned to be grateful, because at every stage of life, whatever challenge you have, somebody has it worse, right? You have bad, worse, worst. So it's always a fact that you have to remember that somebody doesn't have something that you have. So you have to remember that and make the best out of what you have. Because when the storm just hit, and then you have the days after. So people in Manchester at the time, a lot of them didn't have electricity. And you go out west, the electricity came like nothing to you, because people out west, they had other problems. A home, when you don't have a home, it's nothing pretty. You just don't have shelter. That's just the reality of it. You just don't have shelter. With shelter comes a lot of things. Imagine people work for 40 years, their whole life, the whole saving is in a structure, and it's either gone or extensively damaged. The wind and the water just come and take it away. So it has only made me stronger and to make me be more grateful for whatever blessings I have and be able to share it as well with others. And at times, I can tell you that the people, they were still showing a little bit of just some, I don't know how to explain it, but imagine somebody losing everything, but guess what? The one message that everybody always said, thank God they have life. That's something that resonated right across the board out west. People in St. Elizabeth, people in Westmoreland, they're saying, well, they have life, you know. I remember the gentleman tell that he's blind. He said that if the storm come on night, we're dead. We're dead. And he's still saying, thank God for life. But also in the midst of it, you had tragedy because there are many families who lost a loved one. And those who are left to tell the tale, including children, it's nothing pretty. I know that they are scarred. I remember going to a community called New Savannah that's right behind New Market, because New Market Road was blocked, impassable after the storm. And this was probably like a week after, and a team of us went up there. I recall I was stopping in New Savannah, and there was a little girl. She was in about grade 6, she said, and she was telling us about when the road was finally being cleared, a tractor came through. That same tractor, she was telling us that she remembers seeing tractor pass, go up the road, and only see it pass again, the opposite direction, carrying 2 bodies. And the people were telling you these anecdotal stories about how persons died during the storm, building collapsed on them and all that, and how people were buried because you couldn't communicate, you couldn't get out, right? So the stories that we're able to tell or share, it still isn't enough to really focus on the magnitude of how this thing has impacted lives. You know, news is reality, and you have to tell what you see, and you have to put evidence of it. But you also have to be sensitive, especially when it comes down to children. And I must tell you, 2 days after the storm, because it's 2 days after when people were able to get towards Black River. But before Black River, there's this community called New Holland, approaching Milk Waters, where they sell the shrimp and all that. And I can remember seeing a family. You have like 3-4 homes, and only one house was left standing, deck roof. But when you saw all the clothes just strewn across the road, and then those that they were able to salvage out of everything, they put it on basically the fence for the cow pasture, right? And you see all the clothes just there, and you come now to talk to the people, and it's like you're wondering, telling the story is one thing, but you just really want to help them. Like, you feel as though you just give them everything that you have. I gave them what I had at the time, and you still felt like you wonder, what more can I do? What more could I have done? Because the reality is, some of these people don't want to see somebody coming with a microphone or a camera. At that time, they wanted to see help. So yes, they're appreciative, and they even said it. No, we're not afraid of media. Everybody say, no, we're not afraid of media because we have to tell the story so we can get help. But that help, I just wish that it had gotten there earlier. And I remember seeing 2 children sharing banana chips, 2 babies sharing banana chips. They were standing on the roadside here in New Holland. I remember a lady, she said that she was 7 months pregnant, same family. And she was just there. You can see that she's in pain. And then I went there the Thursday after the storm. And I was passing back around the Sunday. I remember this lady that saw right there, same family. She was in the same suit of clothes. And I said to the driver, slow down. What I had there and then again was I got at the gas station, I gave it to her because I'm saying, trust me, it's nothing pretty. You can imagine for days, this is all they had. People are telling you that they were only surviving on sugar cane and jelly water, coconut water. That's all they had, nothing else. They were not able to communicate like weeks after when you get a little signal. At that time, you didn't have such a rapid deployment of Starlink either. So communication was cut. So imagine people in the central or the central eastern part of Jamaica, those overseas, and they just don't know what happened to the families. That alone was nerve-wracking, right? It's just a painful ordeal. This is something that I don't wish to see ever again in my lifetime. I really hope that we don't get any disaster like this ever again during my lifetime. I think the lesson that is there is that talk is just talk, but action means a whole lot more. The people out west don't just want to hear somebody saying something, because sometimes, you know what the truth is? They really can't hear it a lot of times because they don't have power, and if they have a phone, other times they have to beg somebody a charge somewhere, whether probably have a neighbor with a generator or something on. So sometimes they really just don't have that capability to be able to get online to hear what others have to say, right? So talk is just talk, and action is what is needed. Action is always needed, and it will be needed for a very long time to come. And I must say, as you cover things, the rebuilding, it's good that rebuilding is on in earnest. But at the same point in time, you just have to remember that we are a brother's keeper, and whatever way that you can help. Don't just think about it, but help. Even if it's a case that you don't have it financially, and you might not be able to contribute in such a way, sometimes these people just want somebody to talk to, somebody to console them, somebody who they can really sit down and have a conversation with. I've had to do that many times while on the job. So that's about getting the story, but actually being a human first. So that is something that it has really showed me. You have to be able to relate with these people, because that could be you. It's only just a matter of geography. If the storm had shifted, it would be somewhere else. I remember something that a government minister said at a function that I was in Santa Cruz. He was relating a conversation between him and a citizen, where he said that the citizen said, town can manage country, but country can manage town. Meaning to say, it is bad, but also the storm had cut right through the center of Jamaica and impacted Kingston, where a lot of the relief supplies are being sorted from, where you have the ports of entry. It would be a whole different story. I'm actually assigned to what they call the South Central Bureau, a DEX, and I'm in charge of Manchester and St. Elizabeth in terms of being the reporter there. And I must tell you that the day after the hurricane, compared to a few days after, compared to now weeks after, a month after, you can see that people are fighting back. People are fighting to recover. The trees are getting green again. Holland bamboo is fighting. The bamboo is pushing. And the rebuilding process is on it in earnest. It's just that there are some challenges that they don't have any control over. For example, electricity. Electricity is something that I really do wish that it could be restored in a quicker time. I must say that it's difficult for the utility providers because their workers, they too are affected. Some of them are without power. But people are fighting back. And we just have to continue to fight back and to build. That's the only way that we can get through this. I must just say, it's a tough time. And as I explained, traveling from east to west, from the day after, the further west you went, it's the worse it got. And name it, I have seen it. People travel for miles just to get some water. Dirty water, they were using it to wash their clothes. And some of them take it to say, boy, they're hoping that they can carry up the boy to get water to drink. But along the way, innovation came. There are many people who helped, many organizations, other citizens, Jamaicans, people overseas. And I must tell you that to all those who helped, thank you. I saw some of them, I spoke to some of them, I covered stories with them. From those who packed case of water to bring in warm meals from as far as Portland, thank you. Thank you for being your brother's keeper. And thank you for responding to the calls, even those made by people who, as journalists, we spoke to.